Senator Carter, to close.
Thank you. Stepping away from the statistics and the testimony, I'm a father. And I have received those text messages, as many of us had, saying that there's a lockdown situation at a school or there's an active shooter in the area. Those happen too often. And oftentimes, those individuals who engage in lone shooter, active shooter type situations, there were red flags before that behavior took place. We tell our kids, if I know they teach it at my kids' school, if you see something, say something. Well, what happens when our kids say something? This enables the district attorney to go through a legal process of petitioning the judge and say this person represents a danger to themselves or others. There was concern about whether or not this can be vindictive sort of legislation, that someone can say, I don't want my boyfriend or such and such to own a gun. We've heard that concern, and we added language to this legislation that requires the district attorney's office to conduct its own investigation to determine whether or not there's evidence of someone being a danger to themselves or others. If a person shows up, if someone shows up and says my partner is threatening me with a gun and this person shouldn't have a gun, that's not sufficient evidence. The district attorney must conduct his own investigation just to get a hearing with the judge, and then the judge must do a hearing where there's clear and convincing evidence. This is to protect lives. This is to stop those suicides. You heard the individual for the NRA say there's already components of Louisiana law that allows this. Yes, you have to be medically committed. Well, what if that person is not quite yet medically committed? They could still possess a firearm. We've heard from as I traveled the state and I talked to police officers and I talked to sheriffs that you hear someone in a domestic violence situation saying he has guns in here. The moment he's released, well, he's going to have access to those guns and he's going to kill me. Well, Louisiana has mechanisms that provide protections, but those mechanisms only involve a person who has been convicted of a crime. It could take months before there's conviction. It could take 30 days before a conviction. There may not be a conviction. And during that period of time, you have an individual that's displaying red flags, showing that he's a danger to himself or others. This allows a process for our judicial system to prevent that killing, to prevent that suicide, with all the safety protections that you could think of. And if there are others, we're willing to accept those as well. This legislation shows that we've been listening to the critics and trying to work on a fair solution, a balance that protects the Second Amendment rights, but also protects us from that active shooter. So with that, members, I ask for your favorable passage.